My name is Ethan King. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. And I've always believed one powerful truth: you don't destroy people and expect peace to follow you. But I learned the hard way, not everyone lives by that code. You're pathetic, Ethan. That's the first thing I heard when I swung the front door open and walked into my own home. Wine glasses clinked, heels clacked against the hardwood, and laughter exploded like firecrackers. Heather, my wife of 8 years, stood on our back deck, red-faced and glass in hand, surrounded by her two best friends, giggling like teenagers. "You're too stupid to even realize I've been cheating for years," she slurred, tipping her wine glass as Michelle and Kathleen howled with laughter. My stomach twisted. I'd just come home from what was supposed to be a weekend with the guys, a weekend that got cancelled last minute. I figured I'd surprise Heather. But instead, I walked into this. I didn't say a word. I didn't move. I just froze, halfway through the gate, heart thudding so loud I thought they might hear it. Michelle's voice cut through the noise next. "Girl, I still can't believe you pulled it off this long. Sutton and Ethan in the same week? Savage." Sutton. The name slammed into my chest like a steel bat. The same Sutton she claimed was just a co-worker. The one I always had a weird feeling about. Heather doubled over laughing. "Last week, Sutton and I went at it right on the couch where Ethan takes his precious naps. He even brought me breakfast the next morning. Avocado toast. Fancy eggs." Her voice pitched higher, mocking. If only he knew what I'd done just 12 hours before. My jaw locked. My hands were fists. But I still didn't move. I'd been loyal. Loving. Supportive. I had stood by her side when she didn't get that promotion. I defended her when my sister said she was self-absorbed. And while she was sleeping with another man on the couch I napped on after 12-hour shifts. I was bringing her coffee in bed. That night, something in me broke. I stepped forward. The gate creaked. The laughter stopped. Heather turned, and her smile froze on her lips when she saw me standing there. Michelle dropped her wine glass. Kathleen gasped, one hand flying to her mouth. "Ethan, what are you?" I didn't let her finish. "You think I'm stupid?" I said, voice shaking, but not with fear. With something colder. "You think I wouldn't find out eventually? You thought you were untouchable?" Heather blinked, stepping forward, suddenly sober. Baby, it's not. Don't call me that." Michelle grabbed her purse and backed away. Kathleen stared down at her phone, pretending she wasn't here. Of course they scattered. When things get real, fake friends vanish first. "I gave you everything, Heather," I said. 8 years. 8 years of loyalty, sacrifice, and love, and you laughed behind my back. She reached out, voice cracking. "It was just a joke. I was drunk." "You weren't supposed to. But it was true, wasn't it?" I snapped. "Sutton. For 3 years. While I was working late. While I was burying my father and you said you had food poisoning. That was just another night with him, wasn't it?" Her eyes widened in panic. "You don't understand. No. You don't. But you will." She didn't know it yet, but that moment, that confrontation, wasn't the climax. It was just the start. Because I didn't just catch her. I prepared. I had everything: screenshots, texts, hotel receipts, even recordings. She thought I was stupid? That night, she got a glimpse of the truth. I wasn't the fool. I was the storm. You see, what Heather didn't understand, what so many people like her never understand, is that betrayal doesn't make you strong. It makes you vulnerable. Because when you laugh at someone's pain, when you build your happiness by tearing someone else apart, eventually, that foundation cracks. And when it does, you better pray the person you betrayed doesn't wake up with clarity. Because I did. I saw through everything. And I had a plan. This story isn't just about heartbreak. It's about strategy. About reclaiming your power without lifting a finger in violence. Stay with me. Because in the next part, you'll see exactly how I flipped the entire game legally, emotionally, and socially, and walked away with more than just my dignity. I walked away with truth. Next, how I exposed her to everyone she ever cared about without saying a single word myself. I didn't scream. I didn't throw her clothes on the lawn. I didn't post a meltdown on Facebook. That's what she expected. What they all expect when they push a man too far. But I wasn't going to give Heather that satisfaction. No. I was going to dismantle her world in silence. After the confrontation on the deck, I didn't sleep much that night. I drove around aimlessly, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. But by the time the sun came up, my mind had cleared. It was like the fog had finally lifted. No more guessing. No more giving her the benefit of the doubt. I knew. I had heard it with my own ears. And that clarity, that brutal, soul-ripping clarity, became my greatest weapon. The first call I made was to Daryl. My best friend. The only one who knew what had really gone down that night. She said, "What?" he whispered. I told him everything. Every word. Every laugh. He didn't even hesitate. "You can crash at my place. Tonight. Tomorrow. As long as you need." And just like that, I had a base of operations. The next day, I did what Heather never expected me to do. I went to work. Like everything was normal. Walked in, shook hands, hit my morning emails. Because when someone betrays you like that, the worst thing you can do is act like a victim. Nah. You act like a man with a plan. And I had one. A good one. During my lunch break, I met with a divorce attorney. Her name was Monica Vargas. Short, sharp, no nonsense. She read through my notes, the screenshots, the timeline I'd already built overnight. Then she looked up at me and said, "You're more prepared than most of my clients after 6 months. You're not broken. You're dangerous." I liked her immediately. She told me what I needed to do. Lock down my finances. Collect everything. Don't confront her again. Stay quiet. Play dumb. Because the better she looked on the outside, the more devastating the reveal would be. And so I went to war. Quietly. Coldly. While Heather pranced around the house, texting Sutton 2 feet away from me, I was documenting every word. Every time she worked late, I noted the time. Took a photo. I even bought a hidden voice recorder and dropped it behind the couch right under the cushions where they'd done it that night. Every day I smiled. I cooked. I kissed her forehead. I asked her how her day was. And every night I sent more evidence to my lawyer. This wasn't just about cheating. This was about dissipation of marital assets. This was about building a legal case that would leave her with nothing but regret. And the best part? She didn't suspect a thing. It's wild how easily people give themselves away when they think no one's watching. Heather started slipping. Leaving her phone face up. Taking longer showers. Laughing a little too loudly at texts she tried to pretend were from clients. She even started hinting that we should finally start trying for a baby next month. That one nearly broke me. But I smiled and said, "Yeah, maybe." That night, I wrote a note on my phone. She wants a baby with a man she thinks is too stupid to catch her. She'll never get one from me. I also checked our bank statements. Heather had used our joint account to buy lingerie I'd never seen. Book hotel rooms less than 30 minutes from our house. Dinners with clients that just happened to line up with Sutton's social media posts. Every time I found something new, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just smiled and added it to the file. I started slowly moving my personal things to a new apartment I signed a lease for under a different LLC, another tip from Monica. Nothing obvious. Just small stuff, my dad's watch, family photos, legal docs. Each time she was showing a house, I took one more piece of my life out of the wreckage. I replaced things with cheap duplicates from Amazon. Swapped out my old laptop with a busted one I kept in the closet. Took my real passport and left a copy. She never noticed. Because cheaters never notice what isn't themselves. The final piece of the plan? I reached out to Sutton's wife. Her name was Laura. We had never met. But I knew enough to guess how this was going to go. I didn't tell her everything. Not at first. I sent her one screenshot. One photo. One line of dialogue. 5 minutes later, she replied. Where can we talk? Let me tell you something, from one man to another. The most powerful move you'll ever make isn't yelling. It's silence. It's when they look at you waiting for a fight and all they see is calm. Stillness. That look in your eyes that says, you already lost. You just don't know it yet. Heather thought she had control. She thought she'd cheated the system. Cheated me. But she forgot something. I'm not just the guy who made her breakfast. I'm the guy who remembers everything. And the next part of the story? That's when her world starts to fall apart. People talk about karma like it's some mystical force, a slow-boiling punishment that catches up eventually. But sometimes karma doesn't wait. Sometimes karma has a name, a time, a date, and in my case, karma was me. It was a Thursday morning. The sky was blue, birds were chirping, and Heather left the house like it was just another beautiful day in her perfect little Instagram life. She was headed to her client appreciation event, an affair she'd been bragging about for weeks. Hair done, nails freshly painted, wearing a designer dress I'd paid for. She blew me a kiss before walking out the door. I smiled and waved, just like I'd practiced. She didn't know that less than 5 hours later, she'd be standing in the rubble of the empire she built on lies. At exactly 10 a.m., I sent the package. Not just to Sutton's wife, Laura, but to multiple key players in Heather's world. Her parents. My lawyer. The HR department of her real estate firm. And her cousin Tina, the only person in her family who had always seen through her fake smiles. Each one received a carefully compiled folder. No emotional ranting. No dramatic letters. Just facts. Screenshots of texts. Hotel receipts. Photos of her and Sutton. Voice recordings. A full timeline of her 3-year affair. Her real life laid bare in black and white. At first, silence. Then at 11:12 a.m., my phone started blowing up. Why is Laura calling me? Why did you send that to my mom? Ethan, pick up. We can talk about this. I didn't respond. I watched. I waited. I let it all unfold like dominoes falling in slow motion. Then Laura called. I answered. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. Her voice was cold, broken. She told me I was paranoid. She made me feel crazy for suspecting. Thank you for showing me I wasn't. I just listened. Because sometimes, that's all another betrayed person needs, someone who knows the weight of betrayal. Someone who isn't trying to fix it, but just stands in the fire with them. Laura told me she was already packing bags. That Sutton tried to lie even when faced with the screenshots. Said Heather was obsessed with him. Tried to say I faked the evidence. Classic narcissist move, burn down everything just to avoid accountability. I didn't care. Because Heather's perfect day was about to become the day she never forgot. By noon, the event was crumbling. One of her clients apparently got wind of the cheating scandal, word spreads fast in our circles, and walked out. Then another. By the time she excused herself to handle a personal emergency, her hands were visibly shaking. I know this because I got the video. Jake, one of our mutual friends, was attending the event with his wife and caught the whole thing on his phone. He sent me the footage with the message, "Bro, she looks like she's seen a ghost." That ghost was me. By 2 p.m., I sent the email to her parents. No emotion. Just the truth. A simple note. Out of respect for your family, I thought you deserved to know what Heather's been doing behind closed doors for the past 3 years. I never wanted it to come to this. But she made her choices. Now I'm making mine. I didn't expect a reply. But an hour later, her mother called me in tears. She apologized to me. Said they had no idea. Said they were ashamed. Said she wished she had listened to the way I used to sound tired and worn down on holidays. They had always thought Heather was just ambitious. Now they realized she was something else entirely. By the time Heather came home that night, the damage was done. She walked into the house like a shell of the woman she used to be, makeup smeared, eyes red, phone clenched in her hand like a weapon that had turned on her. You told my parents? My boss, she demanded. I didn't flinch. I was sitting calmly at the table, a man who had already won the war before the first shot was fired. I told the truth, I said. Her voice cracked. You destroyed my life. I met her eyes. No, Heather. You destroyed it. I just stopped protecting the lie. She sank into the chair across from me and started crying. The kind of sobs that shake a person's whole body. The kind of sobs that come not from guilt but from loss. Not from sorrow but from consequence. She tried everything. It was just physical. I was lonely. We weren't happy anyway. We can fix this. Please, let's fix this. I didn't say much. I just slid the divorce papers across the table. This is happening. You have 72 hours to figure out your living situation. The landlord will be informed after that. We have a morality clause, remember? She went pale. Ethan, where will I go? I shrugged. Not my problem. You see, when someone betrays you that deeply, they don't just lose your love. They lose the privilege of your protection. And that's what Heather never understood. She thought I'd rage. That I'd scream. That I'd beg. But I didn't do any of that. I planned. I gathered proof. I prepared the battlefield. And then I let the truth speak for itself. She thought she was playing a game. She forgot I play to win. There's a saying, you don't truly know someone until you divorce them. Let me tell you, whoever said that was underestimating how ugly it gets. I thought the worst was over when I served Heather the divorce papers. I thought, she's caught. She'll sign. She'll leave. But no. That would have been too easy for her. Heather was a performer. Even as the walls caved in, she still thought she could talk her way out. So she did what she always does when cornered, she played victim. Suddenly, I was the abuser. The cold husband. The unreasonable one who snapped because of imaginary cheating. She filed a response demanding spousal support. Claimed I owed her for the years she supported my career emotionally. She even tried to claim ownership of my inheritance, money left to me by my grandfather, years before we even met. When I read her claims, I didn't get angry. I got focused. Because I had everything. Every message. Every receipt. Every call. And I had time. 3 months of meticulous planning, even before she knew I knew. The first court appearance was almost comical. Heather walked in wearing her I'm a sweet wife who has heartbroken outfit. Soft sweater. Minimal makeup. Hair curled just enough to look effortless. She even smiled at me, like we were going to lunch after. Then her lawyer stood up and described me as volatile, controlling, and emotionally neglectful. He painted a picture of a woman who had no choice but to seek comfort elsewhere. They brought up that one fight from 2 years ago where I slept in the guest room after she insulted my mother and tried to spin it into abuse. My lawyer, Ms. Daniels, barely blinked. She'd seen this game before. And she came with fire. One by one, she laid the evidence down. Photos. Hotel bookings. Location data. Even the joint bank transactions. Heather used to buy Sutton gifts while we were still together. We had statements from friends. And then, we played the voice recordings. In one, Heather giggles and says to Sutton, "I could never leave Ethan yet, his name gets me invited everywhere. Once I cash in on that, I'm gone." The judge's face didn't move. But I watched Heather shrink in her chair. Then came the financial audit. We proved Heather had secretly funneled thousands of dollars from our joint account into a private one. We showed the court how she'd lied on her tax filings, underreported income, and violated our prenup's infidelity clause. Yes, I had added an infidelity clause. Because somewhere, deep down, I always suspected I might need it. And Heather, in her arrogance, had signed it without even reading. Her lawyer tried to pivot. Surely, this marriage wasn't defined by one mistake. But it wasn't one mistake. It was 3 years. 3 years of calculated deceit, humiliation, and betrayal. So I turned to the judge and said one sentence. "Your Honor, I have no interest in vengeance, I just want freedom and fairness. But if this court allows someone to cheat and steal, then reward them with more of what they broke. I have to question what marriage vows even mean anymore." Silence. Even Heather looked stunned. Because I hadn't yelled. I hadn't ranted. I just spoken the truth. And truth carries weight. The judge ruled in my favor. Divorce granted. No spousal support. She forfeited any claim to my inheritance. She had to repay a portion of the money she stole from our joint account. And Sutton? Laura had already filed for divorce. He lost custody of his daughter temporarily when it came out he'd taken her to meet Heather during one of their business trips. Apparently, their daughter came back asking why Daddy's friend sleeps in his bed. That was the nail in his coffin. But here's the twist Heather didn't see coming. The night before the final hearing, she showed up at my place. No warning. No apology. Just manipulation in a new wrapper. She cried. Begged. Said she missed us. That Sutton was a mistake. That she needed to find herself and now realized I was home. I let her talk. All the way through. Then I said, "You don't miss me. You miss the life you had with me." She looked confused. So I clarified. "You miss the man who protected your reputation. The man who gave you stability. The man whose name meant something when you wanted doors opened. But that man? He doesn't exist anymore. You buried him. And the man standing here? He's the one who built the shovel." Walking out of court that day, papers in hand, I didn't feel joy. Not really. I felt peace. Not because I destroyed her. But because I finally stopped saving her from herself. I gave Heather a chance to walk away quietly. She chose war. So I let the court, the truth, and the consequences speak for me. She tried to ruin me. She just didn't know. I'd already planned the ending before she ever knew I'd started writing the script. I thought winning in court would feel like a finish line. But healing doesn't happen on a judge's gavel. It starts in the quiet. In the silence after the storm. When you're standing in the ruins. And you realize you're finally free. A few months passed. I changed cities. Sold the house. Started over where no one knew my name or hers. For the first time in years, I could breathe without the weight of lies pressing down on my chest. I took up painting again. Reconnected with friends I'd shut out. Built a new business, something small, personal, far from the boardroom Sutton once tried to worm his way into. Funny thing? That betrayal I thought would break me. It actually built me. But one morning, nearly a year after it all ended, a letter arrived. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name, in her handwriting. I stared at it for hours before opening it. Not out of fear. Just closure. Curiosity. Was it an apology? A last dig? Or some desperate ploy to pull me back into her mess? Inside was a single page. No salutation. No dear Ethan. Just this. I thought I won. I thought if I left before you did, I'd be the strong one. But strength doesn't look like sleeping next to a man who constantly reminds me I'm second place. I've never been lonelier than I am with him. You were boring sometimes. Predictable. Too patient. Too kind. And I mistook that for weakness. But now I understand, you were strong in ways I never could be. He looks at me like a trophy. You used to look at me like I was home. And I traded that for ego. Not asking for anything. Just wanted to say. You were never the fool. I was. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and tucked it into the back of an old book. Because that chapter? It's closed. People always ask. Would you ever take her back? No. Not even in another lifetime. Not because I hate her. I don't. But because I finally love myself more than I ever loved her. And when you rebuild yourself from betrayal, when you survive someone trying to shatter you, you don't go back to the one who handed them the hammer. Now, I laugh more. I trust slowly, but I trust better. I've met someone new, someone who knows what it means to earn love, not just receive it. She doesn't ask about Heather. But one night, she did ask about the scar on my chest, the emotional one I thought I hid so well. And I told her the truth. Not the gossip. Not the headlines. Just the story of a man who loved too blindly. And learned to see. Heather taught me that some people will love you only as long as they benefit from it. She showed me that betrayal doesn't always wear a villain's face, sometimes it smiles sweetly and calls you darling. But she also taught me something else. That rock bottom has a basement. But if you hit it hard enough, you bounce. And sometimes, just sometimes, the man you become after the fall is the man you were always meant to be.